Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Sensor Planet folks, for hosting this event. Thank you, MLab and IOTA as well, for all the support and logistical coordination. And thank you also, Armin and Pavlos, for those very fascinating and excellent updates from your projects. It's really, really exciting to see all the progress done by both of your organizations. And last but not least, also a huge thank you to everyone who has joined us here today online. We very much appreciate your time and your participation. Thank you for being here with us. My name is Maria. I work with OONI, which is one of the measurement projects presenting here today. OONI being the acronym for the Open Observatory of Network Interference. And I will somewhat briefly be sharing updates and future plans. I'll try to stick to 30 minutes in order to provide time for Q&A. But if you see me exceeding the 30 minutes, maybe someone from IOTA or Sensor Planet can, yeah, tell me to stop talking, basically. So that being said, in case there are folks here who have joined who are not familiar with OONI, just a little bit of background context. OONI is a nonprofit organization. We're registered in Rome, Italy, but we work internationally. We started off as a free software project under the Tor project more than 12 years ago, back in 2011, 2012. And at the time, we were a Tor project team with the goal of measuring internet censorship globally. And we have grown over the years, and now we're a nonprofit organization in our own right. Broadly speaking, what we aim to do is to increase transparency of internet censorship around the world. And we do this in a decentralized and crowdsourced way. Specifically, we provide free and open source software tools that anyone can use in order to run experiments on their networks to detect various forms of internet censorship. So specifically, by internet censorship, we look at cases that involve targeted blocks, such as the blocking of websites and apps, which is a different type of censorship than what other projects today, such as IOTA, are looking at. And over the years, since 2012, when we started, thanks to our global community who run our tools every day and contribute measurements on an ongoing basis that we publish as open data, we've had the opportunity to publish more than 2 billion network measurements collected from 28,000 unique networks in 242 countries and territories around the world. And as such, we are excited to host what is arguably the largest open data set of its kind on internet censorship, with network measurements collected from the edge of the network, powered by the measurements contributed by our global community. And I mentioned this because a lot of the things I'm going to be mentioning today are based on this data. So the tool that I mentioned that you can use in order to contribute measurements and based on which we get our data is called OONI You can install OONI on both mobile and desktop platforms. We support OONI for iOS, Android, F-Droid, and on desktop it's available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. And by installing OONI you can run a variety of different types of experiments to measure the blocking of websites, to measure the blocking of instant messaging apps, specifically Facebook Messenger, Telegram, Signal, and WhatsApp. You can also measure the reachability of certain circumvention tools like Tor and Siphon. And we also include some tests for measuring speed and performance that were developed and designed in collaboration with MLab. Specifically, the MLab entity and dash tests are also included in OONI So sort of going back to the previous question about Murakami, we've sort of integrated tests and experiments in each of our tools in a way, and that way we're sort of amplifying each other's efforts and helping each other to boost measurement coverage from different types of experiments. And so if you run OONI you will immediately have access to the test results in your app, but we also automatically publish the test results, the measurements as open data in real time. One of the places where we publish the measurements is a platform called OONI Explorer, which is a web platform that we've designed specifically to enable human rights defenders, researchers, and journalists to more easily explore the data and discover different kinds of internet censorship around the world. OONI Explorer includes a variety of different pages and features, which I will not go into detail right now. But one of the things that we find exciting is the specific censorship findings page, which is a page where we publish very regularly short reports documenting emergent censorship events based on OONI data. And so these reports provide a concise interpretation of the blocks that emerged, linking to the relevant data and providing relevant charts that you can also generate yourself through the OONI Explorer platform. Beyond these short reports, we also publish more detailed and in-depth research reports. Over the years, we've published more than 80 of these research reports, and many of them we publish in collaboration with many of our partners. This can include partners working regionally, digital rights organizations around the world who offer very important and valuable context. But we have also worked on many of these reports in collaboration with OMG partners such as IODA, MLab, and Sensor Planet, documenting various cases of internet censorship while combining our different measurement data sets. And if you're interested in using OONI data as part of your own work, we encourage you to do that. Actually, we do measure the impact and the success of our work based on how useful our data is to your own research. So with that being said, you can download raw OONI data in JSON format by querying the OONI API, but we suggest only you doing that for lightweight queries. For batch analysis, we definitely recommend fetching OONI data from our Amazon S3 bucket. And we include documentation and guidelines on how to go about that and how to go about analyzing OONI data. We also link to an example Jupyter Notebook, which shows how you can analyze OONI data and so on. So based on this data, we regularly, as mentioned, publish research reports and shorter reports documenting various censorship events around the world. Over the past year, throughout 2024 and now in the first half of 2025, we've published many reports on both the report section of our website, but also on the findings page on OONI Explorer. In terms of the longer reports, one research report that we published last year was this specific one where we documented a surge in online LGBTIQ censorship in Tanzania. Specifically, what we saw was that numerous LGBTIQ websites were blocked in the country, and we documented this across many different networks. We also documented the blocking of human rights websites, dating websites, but also the blocking of certain circumvention tools such as Proton VPN. We found this very concerning because while the LGBTQ community has been persecuted and their rights have been restricted in Tanzania for a long time, this is the first time that we've seen these offline restrictions and discriminations being transferred in the online world and enforced through the implementation of these blocks. We also published a research report in collaboration with our partners from Kazakhstan, who I think have also joined us today, and specifically in collaboration with Internet Freedom Kazakhstan and Eurasian Digital Foundation, who do incredible work documenting information controls in Kazakhstan. And as part of this research report, we documented TLS man-in-the-middle attacks in the country, but also the blocking of numerous independent news media websites, as well as the blocking of petition websites, the Russian language edition of Amnesty International's website, and the very extensive blocking of more than 70 circumvention tool websites. So this suggests that this sort of extensive blocking of VPNs is implemented in an attempt to restrict efforts to circumvent the blocks to access these news media resources and other restricted resources. We also published a detailed research report in collaboration with RKS Global. And in this case, we documented extensively the systematic suppression and blocking of independent news media in Russia, a lot of which unfortunately started right as soon as the war in Ukraine started back in 2022. But what we're seeing is that the targeted blocking of independent news media has really expanded and spread a lot in Russia and is still in place to a large extent. Very few, if any, independent news media are available in the country. And beyond OONI network measurement data, the report also shares very important and valuable qualitative research findings conducted, which our partner got through interviews with affected news media organizations. And we definitely encourage you to read the report to learn more. And speaking of Russia, beyond what was independent news media and other extensive blocks, they also started blocking one of our resources recently. Specifically in September, they started blocking access to OONI Explorer, which is our web platform where we publish our network measurements. Specifically, when they started blocking access to OONI Explorer, they we're very transparent about it because on the one hand, Roskomnadzor, the censorship agency, did specify the OONI Explorer URL and also the reason for the block within their blocking registry. So they were very transparent about that. They also sent us an email notifying us of the block and notifying us of the reasons of why we were blocked. And it seems that what they're specifically interested in is rather than blocking access to our services as a whole, they're specifically interested in limiting access to the Russian translation of our specific page that shares measurements on the reachability of circumvention tools. But of course, because OONI Explorer is hosted on HTTPS, it is not really possible to limit the block in practice to just that page. So while their intention is to restrict the Russian translation of circumvention tool reachability measurements, in practice, they've been blocking access to our entire platform since September. Another report that we published actually this year, very recently in May, last month, is a detailed technical report documenting the blocking of Telegram in Kenya during their national KCSE exams in both 2023 and 2024. And specifically, this detailed report supported a petition filed at the High Court of Kenya in May, challenging the legality of these blocks as well as other internet disruptions in the country. We are very excited about this. We consider this a very important milestone because any opportunity that we have to support litigation and to support court cases with OONI data as evidence for us is super important. And so while it is, only the beginning, this is a landmark public interest case, and we're thrilled to have supported it. That said, it's probably worth highlighting that even today, as we speak, right now in Kenya, there are widespread anti-government protests. And during these protests today, they have blocked access to Telegram again, unfortunately. It seems that OONI data, which is published in real time, it is showing that access to Telegram web is blocked on at least 3 networks right now in Kenya. You can find the data on our platform, and we also just posted about it on X, and we'll proceed to also post about it on other platforms, as well as we've published a short report on our findings platform on OONI Explorer, which we'll also update. Speaking of our findings platform, so throughout 2024, we published 12 short censorship reports documenting blocks that emerged around the world. As you can see, many of these cases involve the blocking of social media platforms like TikTok and Twitter X and others. Many of these blocks occur during elections and during protests around the world, which is generally a trend that we've seen over the past decade, that there tends to be an escalation of internet censorship around and during political events, such as during elections and protests. And this year, in the first half of 2025, we've already published 18 new censorship reports. And a lot of this actually is thanks to my colleague Elisabetta, who has done amazing work in rapidly responding and documenting many of these blocks. And from what you can see from these blocks, again, many of these blocks target social media platforms. Many of these blocks emerge during protests and during other sensitive political moments. We see the blocking again of Telegram during the national exams in Kenya. And we also see the blocking of news media websites in countries that include Egypt and Jordan, as well as heightened censorship during moments of conflict, such as during the military conflict between India and Pakistan. But beyond our own reporting, there has been quite extensive third-party use of OONI data, which, as mentioned, is something we're very excited about because we measure the success of our project depending on how useful our tools and data are in supporting third-party research and advocacy efforts. So some highlights in some of the ways through which OONI data has supported third-party research in 2024 is on the one hand that the IMAP project, which is a project run by a partner, senior project in Asia, they published 9 research reports documenting in detail internet censorship in 9 Asian countries, entirely based on the use and analysis of OONI data. Quite similarly, OONI data was cited in 35 out of 72 Freedom of the Net 2024 country reports, and they regularly use OONI data as part of their annual country reports. OONI data also supported several academic studies, such as a Usenix paper measuring the Great Firewall's website censorship based on OONI data. The Tehran E-commerce Association, interestingly enough, publishes these annual reports on the quality of the internet in Iran, and each year they make use of OONI data too. And Cloudflare published a blog post announcing, their new connection tampering data set. And in doing so, they compare their TCP connection anomalies data with OONI reports on connection tampering. So this is just to say that OONI data has supported a wide range of different stakeholders. Thank you, Amanda. Such as, on the one hand, academic research, civil society research, but also industry research. And beyond research, we also have many updates on the software development front, and we're working on many new features. So, one thing that we're very excited about is the launch of UniRun v2. UniRun is a platform that you can use in order to generate mobile deep links for the custom testing of websites of your choice. This is a tool that is very powerful and used by community members around the world in order to run their own censorship measurement campaigns, particularly as part of rapid response efforts. And so last year, we launched the next generation version of UniRun, which addresses the key feedback and needs that the community shared with us as part of an extensive usability study. Earlier this year, we also launched the UniProbe multi-platform app for Android and iOS, which is something that we're also very excited about. Generally speaking, as mentioned, UniProbe is available for both mobile and desktop platforms. But what this has meant over the years is that we have had to maintain UniProbe in 4 different code bases. So there's UniProbe Android, UniProbe iOS, UniProbe Desktop, and UniProbe, the command line interface, CLI, with the engine. So that meant in practice that every single time we wanted to ship a new feature, address a bug, and so on, we had to implement these changes in 4 different code bases. What this means in practice is that it makes it slower for us to, ship faster, to ship features, and to address bugs. So to improve the long-term sustainability of UniProbe and to make it easier to maintain and to enhance our ability to ship new features faster, that is why we have been working on a unified multi-platform app code base for UniProbe. And so now we've already shipped it for Android and iOS, and we're currently working towards also shipping it for desktop. And that way, all of our UniProbe apps would use like the same code base, which is something we're very excited about. Another highlight is our News Media Scan app. So News Media Scan app is a version of UniProbe, which is limited to the testing of news media websites. We developed this for Deutsche Welle so that they can use this in collaboration with their media partners so that they can, in a more targeted way, perform news media censorship testing. And yeah, we've made this available for both Android and iOS. Another exciting highlight is that we launched a new OONI Explorer thematic censorship pages recently this year. Specifically on OONI Explorer, the pages that we launched is one page dedicated to social media, one on news media, and one on circumvention tools. And each of these pages features our reports documenting the blocking of those 3 categories around the world, as well as providing relevant data and charts through which you can find the latest information and data on which social media platforms, news media, and circumvention tools are blocked around the world. On the measurements side of things, we have a new throttling methodology, which we have applied in practice as part of several of our research reports on Kazakhstan, Turkey, and Russia. This methodology, essentially what we do is that we analyze the timing information during HTTP requests in web connectivity data. The graph that is included there it has an example of us looking at the throttling of Twitter. And as you can see, the timing in the tailless handshake is unusually very long. We provide details about this methodology in these research reports, and also we've published the relevant details of how the methodology works on GitHub. We also shipped a new OpenVPN experiment, which was contributed by Anne Gazelle, who was an OTF Information Controls Fellow, who we had the pleasure to host over the past year. And we also shipped a new ECH experiment for measuring encrypted client hello, especially especially in response to the blocking of ECH in Russia in November 2024. Another big highlight is the OONI Pipeline v5. This is the latest iteration of our data processing pipeline. This is very exciting because with Pipeline, we're basically moving beyond the concept of anomalies, and instead we're aiming to characterize tested services as blocked down or okay. And this is based on a new metric, the likelihood of network interference metric, the LUNI metric, where what we're looking at is the likelihood that access to a given resource is being restricted in a particular way on a specified network region over a specified period of time. What this means is that ultimately we're aggregating the specific failures and error types in order to be able to characterize how specifically a Tesla service has been blocked and how likely it is to be blocked in that specific way on that specific network in that specific moment in time. And beyond just that, interestingly, it specifies all of the blocking details, enabling us to fully characterize a block based on all the different methods through which a block is implemented. So it could be by means of DNS, it could be by means of TLS with the connection resets and so on. So all the different ways through which it fails, all of those are characterized, enabling us to fully understand how a block is implemented. And this pipeline has been supporting all of our research efforts over the past few years, but it has also started to support many third-party research efforts. For example, our partner Xynou project, they used the latest version of the pipeline to support their 9 research reports documenting internet censorship across Asia. And if you are interested in using the pipeline as part of your own research, we also encourage that, and we encourage you to reach out to us on our Slack channel where we can discuss further. And here I've linked to some relevant documentation, which provides more details. On the community side of things, we're very excited to have expanded our partner network. Over the past year, we've established 6 new partnerships with Digital Rights Foundation in Pakistan, with SafeNet in Indonesia, with Digital Rights Nepal, Cyber Hub in Armenia, Engage Media, and Hamblea in Palestine. And this overall brings our partner network to 55 digital rights organizations. And this is very important to our strategy because ultimately we aim to decentralize our censorship monitoring efforts, and we do see our partners as OONI community leaders in their regions, spearheading on the one hand the collection of network measurements, but also informing what should be tested and relevant outreach efforts. And speaking of partners, we had the opportunity to host the OONI Partner Gathering in Malaysia in May 2024. As part of this 2-day event that we organized in Kuala Lumpur, we had the opportunity to bring our partners from Asia and the Middle East together to exchange skills and knowledge on censorship measurement research and to strengthen our regional and international collaborations. And we're also excited to have some of our international partners, such as IOTA, join us as well. If you're interested in learning more about the event, we have published a detailed report on our website, which we encourage you to read. And we have also published an animation that provides a sneak peek or a glimpse into the event in a more fun way. We also published some community interviews, and the goal of this is to highlight the interesting ways through which community members make use of OONI tools and data as part of their own work, with a goal of inspiring you to use OONI tools and data as part of your work as well, so that we can all collectively increase the measurement coverage. We have published many interviews over the years on our YouTube channel, which we encourage you to subscribe to and to check out. And more recently, we published new interviews with Xynou from Localization Lab, who have been leading the localization of OONI tools over the past decade. But we also published an interview with Tawanda from Digital Society of Africa, who are doing fantastic work in increasing digital security support, but also monitoring internet shutdowns across Southern Africa. On the localization front, again, in collaboration and thanks to the support of the localization community, we had the opportunity to release the OONI Testless editor in 9 languages. This is the web platform through which you can contribute websites for censorship testing. And we also had the opportunity to publish the OONI Outreach Kit in Arabic and Farsi. And in addition to Arabic and Farsi, it's also available in multiple other languages, such as Russian, French, and others. We also had the opportunity to facilitate many OONI workshops over the past year, both online and in person, in order to share skills and knowledge, but also as an opportunity to collect feedback from the community. Thanks also again to amazing work from my colleague Elisabetta. We had the opportunity to train about 464 participants from around the world. But beyond the workshops that we conducted ourselves, many OONI workshops were also facilitated by our partners and border community in countries that include Pakistan, Sudan, Senegal, Tanzania, among others. And we thank them very much for all of these efforts. So what's next? In summary, as mentioned, we launched earlier this year the UniProbe multi-platform app on mobile. Now we're working towards launching it on desktop, and that way all of our UniProbe apps would have a unified code base, enabling us to ship things faster. We're also working towards refactoring and streamlining our measurement engine. We're continuing to make improvements on the UNI Pipeline V5, and I have to say that we're also working on presenting the results from the UNI Pipeline at UNI Explorer, which is super exciting. I personally think it's the most exciting thing ever. You will soon see why in the next few months. We're also continuing to work on our social media censorship alert system to issue alerts when social media targets get blocked around the world. And very excitingly, we're also working on an anonymous credential system for use in UniProbe in order to increase trust in UNI data. And of course, we'll continue on an ongoing basis to publish more research reports, to document censorship findings on UNI Explorer on an ongoing basis, particularly in response to emergent censorship events. And we'll continue to strengthen our community and to support our community on the one hand through our partnership network, workshops, localization efforts, rapid response, with the overall goal of enabling the community to independently make use of UNI data in support of their goals and needs. So yeah, that was a summary of some of our plans. If any of this excites you and if you're interested in supporting UNI's work, you can donate to our project. We also publish a new donate page, which we think is quite pretty and would very much appreciate your support towards our work as a nonprofit. And yeah, if you have any questions and feedback, I would absolutely love to hear it now. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thanks so much, Maria, and thanks so much, everyone who was chatting in the comments and supporting the presentation. It's really amazing to see how many people from our community are right now in the chat and on the call. I think I'm going to cry now. Maria, you should read the comments. Yeah, please put your questions in the chat and in the QA section. I think so far I see two questions, one from Ram and one from Amanda, and a hand from Melissa suddenly disappearing.
No, but, sorry. I thought I saw a hand raised earlier. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, I also saw a hand earlier. So if you wanted to ask a question, please raise your hand and we will get to it. So the first question I think was from Ram. And the question is, what do you think we can do to make UNI more blocking resistant for sensors in the future?
That's a great question, Ram, and thank you so much for raising it, especially because, yeah, we have been blocked in a few places. There have been attempts to block us in China, specifically where they blocked our backend services, and that resulted in a huge measurement drop. We published a report about that a few years ago when it happened, but also Russia blocking us more recently, UNI Explorer, that is. So in terms of becoming more resilient to censorship, there are several things. On the one hand, in the UniProbe app itself, we added proxy support to circumvent blocks. We added support on the one hand for being able to specify the proxy that you want to use, but we also added support for collecting measurements through the use of Cython, which is quite resilient to blocks, especially in highly censored environments such as in Iran. And we've found that those methods generally have been quite effective in circumventing blocks and been able to collect measurements. But that said, as part of a bigger strategy, like in the long term, we would want to ideally create some sort of censorship resistant communication layer that ideally would somehow automatically discover how we've been blocked and automatically try various different types of solutions and fallback options to more dynamically, circumvent blocks and collect measurements in a more reliable way. And we do see this as being something that is quite mission critical to implement at some point because the availability of measurements is core to our mission. So yeah, we do have specific ideas on how we could go about that, and we did submit it as part of a funding proposal, which we hope may get supported in the future, so that we're able to have capacity to work in that direction. I don't know if that adequately answers your question, Ram, but thanks.
Ram says yes, thank you.
Okay,
But if you
perfect.
have any other questions, drop them in the chat. We will now proceed with Amanda's question, which is when will the new classification using the OONI methodology be available in the API and probably on OONI Explorer?
Haha. That's a very interesting question. So technically right now, internally our team, we have access to, I mean, it's a work in progress. It's currently being developed as we speak. We have internally a test version through which we are able to see and play around with the results from the Looney metric and everything. That Elizabeth and I are, very happy about. If you like, we can also share it with you privately, if you're curious to check it out. I say privately just because it really is work in progress, and it's not at a state where we feel comfortable sharing it publicly yet. And we realize that there might be some errors right now as we're experimenting and implementing it. But yeah, to answer your question, we basically aim to launch this by the end of the year, by December though at the very latest. So that will involve like publicly launching OONI Explorer, where we present these new results. And I think the tricky thing is that we really are moving beyond the way that we conceptualized OONI measurements until now, in the sense that up until now we used to think about OONI measurements as okay, confirmed, blocked, anomalous. And now the conceptual model that we have is very different in the sense that instead of it being like, anomalous or confirmed blocked, but rather it's like it's either okay or it's down but down as in it's inaccessible but not due to blocking, or it's blocked. But then for the blocking, we have like the likelihood that it's blocked, like the percentage that it's blocked, and the likelihood that it's blocked in a specific way or in a variety of specific ways. So it's really a new way of thinking about the measurements and presenting the measurements. So it's not just a question of integrating the pipeline results into that, but also a question of us thinking about how we can effectively present the results from a UI perspective on OONI Explorer and all the measurement pages. So this is just to say that it's quite a bit of work at our end. It's a work in progress, but we do plan to have shipped this by the end of the year, and we're very excited about that. And if anyone would like to participate, as part of internal studies, to provide feedback at early stages, we would welcome that. Awesome. Thank you, Amanda.
We have one more question, which is which framework OONI is using for UniPro's multi-platform app. I don't know if, yeah.
We're using Compose multi-platform and Kotlin multi-platform for shared UIs and shared code bases. And yeah, we published a blog post. So if you go to the blog section of our website, where we announced the launch of the multi-platform app for Android and iOS, there we link to the specific multi-platform code base that we're working on. But yeah, Compose and Kotlin is the short answer.
Yeah, I just shared the blog post on the chat. So if you're interested, you can get more information from there.
Thank you,
We have
Andres.
one more. Would you please explain a bit more how and what you mean by alert system?
Aha, yes. So with the alert system, basically what we mean is that generally speaking, to provide a little bit of context, the dream has been that we'd have a censorship alert system by which, when we detect a change in censorship policies, by change in censorship policy, what we mean is that a tested service that was previously accessible is now blocked, or a tested service that was found as blocked and is now unblocked. So change of policy as in blocked or unblocked. That basically, when that is detected, that triggers an alert. However, this is something that we've been thinking about and trying to work towards for many years now. But the challenge with UNI data doing this, applying this UNI data is that, as you probably know, there's a vast volume of data. There's, there are many false positives. So there is the risk of issuing false alerts. So in order to be able to issue more reliable alerts, we decided to limit it at a first stage to social media targets. And by social media targets, we mean like some of the social media websites that A, are most commonly used around the world, and B, which are commonly blocked around the world. And because these social media platforms are used very extensively around the world, usually they have more reliable services as opposed to like random websites. So the likelihood that they would trigger false positives is generally reduced in comparison to some other tested targets. And so by limiting it to those targets, that way we'd be able to experiment to see, if we're able to develop reliable heuristics for monitoring their status in terms of blocking or unblocking. And so we developed a prototype, and then based on this prototype, we determined specific thresholds. So, for example, if the testing of a specific social media website on a specific network in a specific period of time results in at least X amount of these types of anomalies, then that will trigger an alert. However, we've been tweaking on this, and we've also been working on using the OONI data processing pipeline to support this sort of analysis, because the new OONI pipeline v5, as mentioned, it goes beyond just anomalies, but rather what it does is that it characterizes the specific failure. So, for example, if it is if the failure, for example, the reason why it's inaccessible is because there's like a DNS anomaly. What there specifically, what I'll tell you is that, is it because it's serving a specific IP that is known to be is it returning a specific IP that is known to be associated with censorship? Is it returning an X domain error? And so on. So this, or for example, if the failure is happening at the TLS handshake, it will specify like, is it because the TLS handshake, is it because it resulted in a connection reset error, or is it because it resulted in a connection timeout error? Right after the first client hello. So the very specific errors and the very specific failures that are occurring that characterize and inform us as to why the block occurred, those are being aggregated and analyzed. And then based on that, we're able to determine with some probability how likely it is to be blocked in that way. So this gives us much more confidence from a methodological perspective in A, confirming a block, and B, characterizing the block. And so what the goal is with this alert system to basically feed it based on the analysis of the pipeline. So that's why the pipeline v5 development and the alert system are, very tightly connected in that regard. But to answer your question, as a first stage, the goal is to issue alerts based on an RSS feed, where basically you'll be alerted, when a specific social media platform is blocked in a specific network in a specific country of interest. So this could be like you could like request, for example, to receive alerts on, social media platforms that are blocked globally or in specific countries that interest you. But yeah, it really is something that we're developing and shipping for the first time. So it is very experimental. So any feedback and suggestions you folks may have, would absolutely love to hear it. And you're welcome to share your feedback also by emailing us at our contact email address, or better yet, you can also email us personally. Our personal emails are also on the website. And you're also encouraged to join us on Slack, where you can share your feedback directly and we can chat and discuss it in more real time. Does that help
Thanks,
answer your
Maria.
question?
Please type in the chat if you have, if you need any more clarifications, or drop a question to Q&A once more time. We have two more questions to address. One is about OONI's future. Do you foresee OONI wanting to expand into misinformation detection?
Interesting. No, that's a very interesting question. And I have to say, generally speaking, over the years, we have been thinking about within our team a lot, like whether we should expand to other forms of censorship. You're very rightfully, misinformation can be a form of censorship, and there are many other ways through which censorship is implemented on the internet beyond network level blocks, which is what we're looking at. However, there are several things. The first thing is that for misinformation specifically, it's not immediately clear to us how we would examine that at scale, which is generally the way that we do things. Generally speaking, with OONI, our goal, rather than them conducting one-off small studies on specific cases and so on, which is something that a lot of other researchers are doing anyways, our goal basically is that of providing a framework through which we can study a phenomenon at scale, globally, automatically, in a decentralized way. So the question would be, how would we do that, like methodologically, if we were to apply it to misinformation? There might be ways to do it. I don't know personally right now on the top of my head. But yeah, that's generally the approach that we'd want to have, whether we're looking at other forms of censorship beyond network level blocks. And that is an approach that we are thinking about. For example, if we were to expand to looking at social media, at censorship within social media platforms, which I think if we were to expand, that'd probably be the next step, even before misinformation, probably. Also because misinformation, I think, is a bit more tricky. Uh, to study like to measure in the way that we measure things at least. The other thing also to keep in mind is that we're a small nonprofit of 9 people maintaining multiple different software projects at the moment. We're currently honestly struggling a bit to to meet all of the needs and to do all the things we'd want to be doing just on the network side of things of censorship measurements. So it's also a question of balancing, aspirations to grow and expand to new areas versus being able to continue to maintain and provide, the tools that we already provide at a good quality and meet the needs of our existing community. It's a bit of a struggle to expand without having more resources to expand in more areas, basically. And I think probably it's also worth mentioning that in this specific moment in time, with the new administration in the US and the impact that this has had on the funding landscape, and the fact that a lot of the work in the field has traditionally been supported by US government grants, but US government grants are now being threatened. I think realistically, unfortunately, as a community, we're probably going to have to scale down our operations over the next few years in order to survive. So unfortunately, it's unclear to me how we can expand our resources to expand the scope of our work in the immediate future. But yeah, that being said, we're definitely always curious and interested to brainstorm and discuss new ideas and love to hear any thoughts you may have.
Thanks so much. I think we have time for 1 or 2 questions. So if you have, oh my God, we already have 2 questions. So one question was posted on the chat. I'm not sure I completely understand it, but it says, does OONI have controls that adjust for the fact that different countries may be tested for a different number of probe websites? For example, controls to compare censorship levels between or across the countries.
Yeah, thank you, Felix. That's a great question. And really that's I think that touches upon the heart of the challenge and the limitations in our approach. That on the one hand, because our measurements are collected in a crowdsourced way, on the one hand, that is amazing, obviously because of the community participation aspect and the decentralized nature. More importantly, I think it's amazing because we're in a unique position to see what is happening on local networks because measurements are contributed from local networks around the world. But on the other hand, as I think you're hinting at, the limitation is that because the measurements are contributed by people around the world, it practically means that the availability of OONI measurements depends on when and if people decide to run OONI probe, depends on what they test, which websites they choose to test, how frequently they run them, et cetera, et cetera. So obviously the measurement coverage across countries varies. It varies from country to country. It even varies from network to network within countries, and it varies over time. So like, maybe in some moments in time, a specific network has more measurements than another one. Maybe the next year it will look entirely different. So there really is, this huge variance in measurement coverage across networks and countries around the world, which is an important and also a variance in terms of what is tested, because not all websites and not all tested, not all targets are tested equally around the world or in a country over time. So in practice, what this means is that it limits our ability to, it really makes longitudinal studies hard. And I say this because I'm currently performing a longitudinal study and I'm really struggling on this component because of the unequal measurement coverage and different testing targets. And it definitely makes it more challenging to, as you say, like compare censorship between countries. Because if you're performing a comparison, you would ideally want the 2 countries that you're comparing or the multiple countries that you're comparing to have the same measurement coverage and to have the same services tested, and you'd want them all to be tested equally in all of the countries, ideally, to do a fair sort of comparison. And the fact that we don't have that is indeed a limitation. So I guess to answer your question, we work with what we have in the sense that because the measurements, on the one hand, there is the limitation, and so we generally are very careful to do comparisons, and we generally refrain to the extent that we can from doing comparisons. And I say this also because one of the most frequently asked questions that we get over the years is like, which country has the worst censorship? How do you compare censorship between this country and that country? We're constantly asked these questions. And we generally try to refrain from answering these questions because we don't think it's fair to make these comparisons without having equal measurement coverage across countries. And beyond the measurement coverage, we also believe that censorship is very contextual. And you really need to look at so many factors beyond the network measurement data to fully understand and grasp like a censorship event in a country, and to then compare it with another one. So that's also a reason why we actually don't have, we used to have a global map with OONI measurements, which I very much love because I like maps. We don't have it now on OONI Explorer, and that was a conscious design decision because we didn't want to create a misleading perception that some countries are more evil than others, or I don't know what, when in fact the result might actually be skewed by the measurement coverage and not by the realities of censorship. So yeah, that's why we generally try to instead go in a direction where we produce these more in-depth research reports in collaboration with experts from the countries, where we try to cover all the nuances and the complexities around censorship, as opposed to doing the more surface level comparisons. Does this help answer your question?
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks.
We have one more question so far, but we got an approval that we can extend our time for Q&A if there is a request to do so from the participants. So please feel free to post your questions in the chat or in the Q&A. One more question from the QA is there any possibility of becoming for-profit to reduce reliance on support from specific governments?
Yeah,
I think we can have
that's a great
separate.
question. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, I think if we were to venture in the for-profit side of things, it probably would be like in terms of providing services as opposed to the data. So, for example, services like data analysis or services in terms of provide like consultancy level services. But generally speaking, being nonprofit is very important to us because we really want to maintain our independence, and we want to maintain the trust of the community, especially in our case where the availability of our measurements is thanks to the community, thanks to a global community, who choose to contribute these measurements, and in some cases at their own personal risk, because contributing network measurements can be risky, especially in high-risk environments where there's more censorship. So yeah, basically ensuring we're able to maintain the trust of our community and the sort of independence and autonomy is very important to us. It's very important to us that we continue to work in a nonprofit sort of way. But yeah, we definitely need to be, I guess, more creative in terms of how we think about OONI's funding model over the next years in order to be able to continue to do the work that we do, provide the open data set, and to ensure that future researchers and historians can learn about internet censorship based on all these measurements that you all have contributed. So yeah, if you have any ideas in terms of how we can continue to sustain, how not just OONI, but the broader, I think, internet freedom community, how we can continue to do our work, especially in these moments in time that I think now is more critical than ever, in light of the, growing authoritarianism around the world, and conflict and all the issues. I think now it's more important than ever, and we need to support each other in ways that we can.
Thank you. We have a hand from Mesfin. I think if we can give Mesfin a voice. Aaron, can you please unmute Mesfin so they could ask their question?
Yeah, they're currently unmuted.
Thank you. Mesfin, you are unmuted, so please feel free to share the question you have.
Thank you so much for all the presentations, and my hand is an old raised hand, and My question is already answered through the chat. Sorry for keeping my hand raised up so far. Thank you.
No worries, and thank you so much,
Thank you.
Mesut.
I do not see any other hands or questions in the chat or in the Q&A. So unless anyone wants to post them last moment, I think we can still have 10 minutes break until the next session.
Sounds great. And thank you, Elisabetta, and thank you everyone for your questions. And of course, if you have more questions and feedback, you know where to reach us. You can email us or reach us in the Slack. We're always happy to continue the discussions. Yeah, enjoy the break.